Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Hunter and the Beast Early Access action for Total War Warhammer 2. Today we're going to be taking a look at GOR-ROK, the free LC Lord coming for the Lizardmen. We're going up against Gojira's Skaven today, but quickly let's talk about the White Lizard himself. So, he's got a few abilities here, let's quickly go through them. This to the death gives extra leadership and melee attack for himself if he goes below 50% HP. Just his general stats real quick, actually, before these abilities. He is heavily armored, as most Lizardman characters are. He does have a silver shield as well, 55% missile block chance. I believe he is the only Lizardman character to have this good of a missile block chance. He also has 60 melee defense, expert charge defense, heavy weapon strength with good AP values, decent melee attack, and then his other abilities also make him a better duelist. He obviously has cold-blooded. This Rokovitsa gives him physical resistance and vigor, quite a bit of physical resistance. He does need to be in melee to recharge it, but I mean he's definitely a melee brawler. You're going to want him in melee as much as possible. Standard ground, we all know and love. This one here is my favorite ability of his, Shield of the Eons. Gives 60 armor and expert charge defense in an area of effect for 23 seconds. That 60 armor in particular is very good, as the Lizardmen tend to not be heavily armored in the infantry department, and the expert charge defense certainly does help as well. This is the self buff though. Mace of Olmec, 44 melee attack, 40% AP and weapon damage, just makes him an absolute beast in combat. For the rest of the build, we've got, since we're fighting under the banner of Itza, we've got GOR-ROK to deliver Itza. We've got Star Chamber Guardians and Legion of Chocolates, because I was expecting some Giselles or some missile play of some kind. So, you know, kind of tying together all these different effects here with the missile resistance, the Guardian and Lord Krok's innate missile resistance. I figured that we would be able to shrug off quite a bit of that missile fire. Instead, Gojira went with a double Hell Pit Rush build with Ikit Claw leading the way. Heavy line of Storm Vermin here with a bunch of supporting Skaven slaves, and Rat Ogres out to the flanks. So you can see I've got some Skink Skirmishers behind, Popopok's cohort, and lots of Skinks. So we're going to get the battle underway here. The Saurus rushing in, and I have to say, I love the Itza color scheme. That white and gold, it just looks so classy. Like, these are the, yeah, the fancy Lizardmen, as it were, but we do get some pizza delivery here from Lord GOR-ROK, just absolutely wrecking two of these units of Storm Vermin, and we're going to bring in these Popopok's cohort for a nice rear charge here. Nice Warp Lightning, though, going to be coming down on these Skink Skirmishers, and Ikit Claw himself running around and running some of them over. In the center, though, you see GOR-ROK is saturated up against this Hell Pit Abomination, and although he's not technically anti-large, because he has such good defensive stats, and especially because he's soaked in with these Regiment of Renown Temple Guard as well, he can stand in here and kind of bop the Hell Pit a little bit. With that buff up as well, 630 weapon strength, pretty serious, able to do some pretty good damage there, and so far so good. Popopok's cohort rushing out to try and bog down Ikit Claw, start to do some anti-large AP work against him. And you can see the Rat Ogres over here getting routed off by Saurus and Skinks combined. The Storm Vermin as well, just taking too much magic damage in Overwatch. I do have my Skinks in a really nice position here to be able to give some nice supporting fire in a bit of a surround situation. But here comes the Brass Orb, going to be pinning down those Popopok's cohort for just some time. But another pizza delivery, this time just a personal pan size. Going to be wrecking some of these Storm Vermin here in the center. Just clearing out as much chaff as possible so that we can try, I guess they're not really chaff, but just try and get the Hell Pit Abomination off the field if we can. But GOR-ROK's definitely taking some damage. Hell Pit's trying to prioritize him, which is obviously a pretty good target. And you can see my infantry are definitely getting worn down over time. The Star Chamber Guardians and the Regiment of Renown Spears as well have taken quite a bit of damage. Popopok's cohort just about running out of steam, but of course, the man himself, the White Saurus, completely healthy still, actually finishing off this Hell Pit here in terms of its leadership, and that is going to, yeah, it'll just get chased off by Skinks now. He's going to switch targets and go for that other one. Ikit himself running over some of these Saurus here, and you can see the attrition's not quite there. He may have wanted to change out one of these Hell Pits for a Plague Furnace instead, just for the drain effect in a big blob situation like that can be pretty powerful. But honestly, big thanks to Gojira for not bringing like a nasty Skaven missile build, because that's still going to be a bit of a problem for the Lizardmen. But GOR-ROK does help in that sense. Because he has a silver shield, he's going to be harder to missile snipe than most other Lizardmen characters. You know, he's also a relatively small target as well on foot. He's got the physical resistance buff for himself, and you can also run him with another number of other units that make him harder to missile snipe. Then, of course, he obviously is an infantry-only hero, so he's a little bit limited in terms of his mobility. But he does have really nice support buffs here. Once again, that Shield of the Aeons, especially in this game, has been very helpful in helping to protect against the Hell Pit charges and so forth. But one last pizza delivery. This time we're going for the king size once more. That should finish off most of the Storm Vermin here. Oh man, that's still brutal. GOR-ROK did get nerfed. He is more expensive now, and I believe the high tiers of the Deliverance are more expensive in terms of their Winds of Magic cost. But certainly still a very powerful character, and ended up definitely helping out here. So the banner of it's a claiming victory against nasty little Ikit Claw. And yeah, 177 kills for GOR-ROK himself. Only three kills for GOR-ROK, but he was really focused on fighting the Hell Pits pretty much the whole time anyway, and did do quite a bit of damage to both of them. The Saurus doing quite well. This one in particular got a hold of some Rat Ogres, and because Saurus have such high weapon strength, and Rat Ogres honestly have pretty poor melee defense and armor, they can do a lot of damage to them in the right situation, even though they're not necessarily, you know, meant for fighting them. Still was able to see them off. Obviously, the Storm Vermin ended up being a little bit of a rough pick here for Gojira, just because of the Deliverance there. But, you know, nice to see a bit of a Skaven rush build. I definitely see what he's going for there. Ikit Claw did get quite a few kills at 83. Really nice Warp Lightnings, and of course the Chariot, armor-piercing Chariot's quite good against Lizardmen infantry. The Hell Pits ended up being a little bit rough as well, though. Yeah, I see what he's going for there, though. You know, you'd use the Death Frenzy, juice up the Hell Pits, and then potentially take on some of the Lizardmen dinos. But in my view, it's really a bad idea to take big dinos against the Skaven because of their missile tools, so I kind of went in a little bit of a different direction, I think, than what he was expecting. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to the next replay I've got here. So the other matchup I think that GOR-ROK is potentially going to be really, really good in is the Vampire Coast matchup. So these are the two matchups, or two of the matchups, I should say, that are the toughest for the Lizardmen, Coast and Skaven. I think that GOR-ROK's going to be a good choice in both of these matchups. So the Skaven game, I mean, obviously it wasn't really facing a super in-depth missile build there, but this time around we are facing, you know, a pretty nasty build here. Also, I don't know if these animated Hulks got buffed. I think they did get buffed, but HDS has brought a few of them here. We've also got Luther Harkon up in the air, who is obviously still an exceptionally powerful character. He's got a cannon, tons of zombies, as you would expect, including some handguns. And yeah, that's pretty much it for myself. Skink Skirmishers. In the front line, we've got Skink Cohort and Red Crest. Saurus Warriors with shields. Legion of Chocolates here. We've got Rev Crystal and the Cohort of Sotek. And of course, GOR-ROK on foot. In addition, there is a caster hidden in the woods here. Skink Priest, Lore of Heavens. And we've also got the Umbral Tide, Regiment of Renowned Salamanders. They're going to be very good for hunting Harkon. That is the specific reason why I brought them here, because Harkon's such a common pick against the Lizardmen. So we did get some early damage there, but Harkon's going to be able to regenerate most of that. And we're pushing Skirmishers up and around the flank. I'm going to try and get them maybe in this backline area here to start kind of harassing. Maybe get in, shoot the artillery crew. Even just shooting these zombies is going to be reasonably cost effective over time. But the Rev Crystal is definitely taking a pounding from that Carronade. A little bit unfortunate. I had been using, you know, kind of the missile resistance buffs and everything to try and get it to survive, but I do think it was a bit of a mistake to bring it at the end of the day. Yeah, it's just taking so much damage at this point, but now in the front line, Skink Cohort going to start to soak some of those handguns, which is fine by me. Just pushing up and around, we are going to be able to get a pretty good engagement here. Unfortunately, these Skinks have taken a lot of missile fire. The leadership's not doing too hot, so they probably will give out. Likewise, these Skinks here, probably going to get crashed on by the animated Hulks. And animated Hulks do have a lot of weapon strength. They just have terrible combat stats. but we'll see how they do here. You can see the skink skirmishers pushing up and around the flank, and we are getting a pretty heavy push here in the center as well. Cohort of Sotek blobbing in a little bit. This is probably not the best idea, but we're going to go ahead and throw a wind blast there just to try and clear out those zombies, but it actually did a bit of friendly fire as well. Not the best, but that's okay. Skinks in the back line getting chased around by Harkon. They're only 400 points, so that's fine. I do have these 3 units here, but I'm going to be a little bit slow in pushing them up and trying to get a good flanking position here. But the Skink Priest is also over here, potentially a vulnerable situation, but I'm going to move the Umbral Tide up and around, try and just mirror Luther wherever he goes with the Umbral Tide. Meanwhile, GOR-ROK himself fighting in the front line. You can see that shield raised there as he blocks some of the missiles from those handgunners. Obviously, better at that than any other Lizardman Lord is. But yeah, you can see still I'm just too slow with this this right side flank here. I should have already engaged, but now finally we're going to get pushing through. Red Crest going after the animated Hulks here. We've got Skink Cohort and others rushing in. So yeah, pretty good stuff. In the back line, my Skink Skirmishers are doing an okay job at keeping some units occupied here at the very least, even if they're not doing a ton of damage at the end of the day. But yeah, Harkon drops down, and the Rev Crystal is suddenly in really, really bad shape. We're going to rush in with the Legion of Chocolates and some other units here and try and bail it out. Try and also get some Salamander fire here as well. Unfortunately, not the best hits, but hey, still plenty of time left. A little bit behind on the balance of power at this point with the loss of the Rev Crystal, but I think I'm still pretty confident in my chances to win. I mean, GOR-ROK's perfectly healthy here. He is taunted, but I mean, even taunted, he's still got 33 melee defense, 70 armor, still a very tanky character. So seeing that Harkon drops down, I'm going to pop all the buffs, Shield of the Aeons to give him more armor, and also to help the Saurus be a bit better in this situation as well. And pop the Mace of Olmec as well, and you can see he's just not taking damage despite, everything from Luther there. So I do like that quite a bit, that he's, more or less immune to being sniped from the air like that on a big charge. I mean, maybe he can, but you see here the Umbral Tide unloading on these animated Hulks, just doing a ton of anti-large damage. These guys don't have as good AP values as they did before, but of course that doesn't necessarily matter against animated Hulks because they have very low armor. They're basically Minotaurs, more or less, so yeah, doing a pretty good job there. Harkon, though, is obviously priority target number 1, but that was a pretty bad miss on that wind blast there. I had meant to just either cut through that way, or maybe I was trying to target that unit, but this is a problem. I really need to not lose my caster, because I do actually have the Lore of Heaven's attribute to debuff Harkon specifically. I want to be able to spam as many spells as I can. He is going to get terrified here, but GOR-ROK comes in to try and teach him a lesson. Oh man, and the Salamanders as well, just going to roast Harkon. So this is suddenly not the best situation for Harkon. You can see he's taking a lot of damage here. I mean, granted, GOR-ROK is taking a bit of damage as well, but Harkon's definitely getting the worst of this engagement. The Carronade looks like it's opening up on the Umbral Tide, which is a great pick for them. And we do have some animated Hulks kind of compromising as well, which is not the best. We're going to dispatch some Red Crest to try and bail them out, but the Skinks here, again, a little bit slow on my micro, not getting these Skink Skirmishers back in a position to support. Same thing, we've got more Skinks kind of hanging out in the periphery there. But yeah, we've got Taunt on the Umbral Tide. Harkon's going to drop down once more and immediately take a friendly cannon shot to the back. I mean, they are just zombies. You can't really expect them to be that accurate, right? But we're immediately going to run the Umbral Tide in the other direction, try and screen them out with the Legion of Chokwa here. And of course, GOR-ROK himself, oh man. With the Legion of Chokwa especially, he looks right at home. Yeah, they're going to get in. Harkon did manage to take off, but those animated Hulks are not in the best situation. But you can see with his back turned here, GOR-ROK is taking a bit of missile fire. Those are just summon zombies, though. They're not going to do the most AP. And yeah, finally I'm getting my other Skinks back into a situation to support on this side. But these two Skinks are still just kind of hanging around. Unfortunately, the Skink Priest, again, trying to get Harkon's trying to snipe him, doing his best, but we do have some animated Hulks here. We've got the Umbral Tide. GOR-ROK not quite in a position to support here, and the red-crested Skinks, again, not quite fast enough to bail out that little Skink bro. It is unfortunate, but we do manage to get Harkon pinned in here a little bit, poison him, get a couple hits in with the red-crested Skinks, and at the very least we can try and finish off these animated Hulks. But that Carronade has done a ton of damage to my Umbral Tide. I just haven't been able to get back and finish it off. I did use some Uranen's Thunderbolts to try and shut it down, but I didn't quite place them well enough to actually destroy the artillery pieces themselves. You can see finally I'm going to bring these skink skirmishers into melee to try and finish off the carronade here, and I think it will be enough, but I just needed to shut this thing down a lot earlier. You can see it did use up quite a bit of its ammo already, so not the best situation in the world, but that's alright. Meanwhile, on the far side, the Umbral Tide's still hanging around, Harkon still taking damage, and these animated Hulks, surprisingly as well, still hanging around. We do have some zombie polearms supporting now also in this situation, but definitely getting pretty pitched in this late game fight. Very, very desperate at this point. I really need the Umbral Tide in a position to be able to shoot Harkon, and GOR-ROK himself is taking quite a bit of damage, but if he can get into contact here, he's just getting thrown around a little bit by these animated Hulks, but yeah. We'll see. We do get a little bit back here. Maybe we're going to be able to throw a few volleys out, and those animated Hulks are just about crumbled away. So finally, again, I do realize I have some of these other skinks out here in the periphery. But yeah, we'll see. A lot of the zombies are crumbled away now at this point. You can see the vampire coast here. Very, very low on troop count. Obviously, Harkon still holding together, but he is at his healing cap, so very close finish here. Honestly, even though the balance power is slightly against me, I still feel like I have a pretty good shot of winning this. We'll see. But Umbral Tide here, only 300 HP left, still hanging around because of their elite Regiment of Renown status, but finally getting terrified. Those skinks also get terrified, and then, yeah, Harkon obviously not wanting, even with debuffs, not wanting to fight GOR-ROK there. But unfortunately, the Legion of Chakra, only 33 models now. 1700 HP, they are getting very, very low. Likewise, these red crests here supporting are getting pretty low on HP as well, and those zombies still have quite a bit of HP left. So we'll see. This vampire caster is also still alive as well, and honestly, I probably should have prioritized taking her out, obviously, because she's going to be the one healing a lot of the other troops besides Harkon himself. But unfortunately, I just didn't necessarily have the resources to really take her out fast. So yeah, it is what it is. If I had been able to catch her maybe with GOR-ROK and get her surrounded by swords or something, probably could have deleted her pretty quick. But it is what it is. Balance of power coming back slightly towards even as these zombies start to crumble away, and Harkon has taken even more damage there. But here comes a breath attack. Probably on GOR-ROK himself. We'll see. Maybe not. Looks like he's trying to shoot GOR-ROK, which is not the best. GOR-ROK, obviously, the missile block chance will help somewhat, but ooh, a rear charge here, the taunt, and that actually does quite a bit of damage on that rear charge with the Hornswaggle. Stand your ground tries to counter, but GOR-ROK does take even just like a hit or two there, does quite a bit of damage, and yeah, that does tip the balance of power very significantly. Harkon, though, is taking damage as well. Takes a hit there, maybe not, nope, not quite. But we'll see. The Legion of Chakra still holding out. We've got more skinks trying to come back and bail out GOR-ROK here, but yeah, GOR-ROK with only 450 HP left. We'll see. He did pop the Shield of the Aeons to make sure that Harkon does not charge back in, or if he does, we've at least got that charge defense. Rallied Red Crests here are going to come back in, finish off these zombie polearms, but it's super close right now. We've still got some handguns here that are crumbling. There's one more unit of deckhands way out in the distance, and then the vampire caster herself, once again, is going to be a problem. Harkon is taking a couple of hits from these red crests, but they get terrified away, and then, yeah, GOR-ROK's leadership looking really, really shaky at this point. With the zombie summon, though, that tips the balance of power enough. The red crest takes some shots, and that is the end. So, unfortunately, a defeat. I do think I made some pretty serious micro mistakes in just not being fast enough. First of all, on that right flank, in getting those skinks into a position to start, disrupting. We probably could have crumbled away a few units a little bit faster and just collapsed that line to occupy some of those missile units. Likewise, I didn't do that great of a job of bringing my skinks back from routing. Obviously, if you're running a heavy skink build, you have to be pretty on point about your micro to bringing them back, especially against undead. They will tend to run away relatively often, but if you bring them back in, like especially if I had brought them back in earlier, you saw how close it was in the late game there. Maybe we could have taken out some of those missile units before they did quite so much damage. Maybe we could have taken out the captain with like a bunch of red crests surrounding her, or maybe some swords or something. A lot of ifs, but I do feel like that was a lot closer than this matchup has been in previous patches. And I do think that GOR-ROK does help quite a bit there. Like, I felt like I had pretty good odds to win that one. I just made a couple mistakes. So I do think GOR-ROK definitely has merit here. You will see him used pretty frequently, I think, in this matchup. Same with the Skaven. Probably dwarfs as well. I'd imagine he'd be pretty good there in for similar reasons, although, you know, other infantry characters aren't necessarily super vulnerable at getting missile sniped, like Krok are and stuff, but maybe you want more offensive buffs against the dwarves. Nakai, actually, he's a little bit of a bigger target, but he could be potentially decent against the dwarves, I think. But anyway, I'm kind of getting a bit off topic here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this GOR-ROK double cast. Give you a bit of an idea of how he might be used. Let me know in the comments down below how would you go about using GOR-ROK. What matchups do you think he could excel in? I'm very curious to see what you have to say. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.